Welcome to Whole Lot of Wolves, Season 3, Episode 33. We're your hosts. I'm Joshua Buckley. Oh, no, I'm not. He's out tonight. I'm Paul LePage. Josh has picked up some mysterious travel bug from California, so maybe it's a kissing disease or whatnot. So it's myself leading tonight. I'm ably assisted by producer Alex in New York. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you, Paul. How are you?
Doing great. And we have a returning guest, but startlingly, only the first time this season. It is Joe 2 from Connecticut. Joe, how's it going?
Good to hear from you guys. I feel like it's been a while. Seems like we have half a new team, huh?
That's right. New season, new manager, second new team, but thankfully all on the up, which is nice to talk about for a change.
Definitely.
Off the back of Wolves 2, Brentford 0 from Saturday. And Joe, would you say the word was comfortable?
It I was very nervous going into this match for sure. Uh I even like when it first started, I turned to my wife Rachel and I was like, this seems like one that we would normally lose. Like we come off the win against Chelsea and like we're coming like we should win this match. But yeah, the boys played great. I think they looked good and I was happy. It was a good match.
It was Diogo Costa scoring his first goal for Wolves in what was a really great performance. And as I was watching it and afterwards, definitely in catching the highlights, I thought that was the Diogo Costa at about 70% of what he used to be like for Chelsea. And it just reminded me how oftentimes he was unplayable in a Chelsea shirt, and he was the epitome of a number nine, and we definitely saw flashes like that from his previous self on Saturday. I thought he was fantastic. There was lots of talk probably afterwards, a lot of fans buzzing, quotes from some of the players. What do you think, Alex, about some of the talk around possibly extending his contract given this current form?
I was kind of excited about it only because it would be really disappointing if this was the only year we got from him and he's finally looking like he's come into form. Like he basically was semi-retired or retired. So it makes sense that it took until now to get the player that we thought we were going to get, which is just like you said, like a three-quarters version of who he was. It's clear to me. I don't know what you guys think, but I just think from the windows we get into the club, so social media, which our social media team does a great job, and then the occasional player interview, that they really love him and he really means something to the clubhouse. And I think that the young Brazilians that have signed have taken a big time liking to him, and then Mario Lamina, I saw in the Express and Star was saying basically they need to find a way to keep him. Like, this guy's great. He shed some light into the practical jokes that he plays. And Lamina, this is a guy who's coming in from Nice. He's not, doesn't speak Portuguese as far as I know or anything like that. And he still finds Costa to be an essential part of this team. And that's without him having been playing much until now. So one more year, why not, right? Because who knows what Big Sassy is going to look like next year. And Fabio Silva doesn't seem to want to play for Wolves.
No.
And Raul Jimenez doesn't seem like someone that Lopetegui wants to play for Wolves. So he's kind of our only striker at the moment.
Joe,
I would
one more year.
I would definitely take it. I think he got a year left in him. It looks like his confidence is up now. Like getting the goals huge. I think that like him Cunha and Matthias together seem like they were finally in a rhythm that like we haven't really seen this season from anyone, right? Like this wasn't something we were getting, this kind of like connect. Like he had like a back heel pass that was
Yeah,
dead on,
yeah.
this beautiful stuff. Like I was like, where has this been, this creativity, this fun that they're having? They look like they were having fun, they look like they're having confidence. Easy sell for me. Give them another year, let's keep them. Yeah.
I think for me, you got to be wary of the sentimentality aspect but at the same time, there's also the balance to the squad. And I think if you can factor in what with overseas players and having quotas and what have you, if there's space for him, which it obviously seems he'd be fairly comfortable with having a role potentially from the bench or starting certain games. I think if the stars aligned and you can have him, I think without being detrimental to either stopping anyone else's progression or from stopping probably a marquee number 9 coming in if they do want to make that type of signing. I think it points to keeping him. I think if they go all in on Fabio Silva, I think he'll still need that veteran in the clubhouse for support and tutelage and learning off. And I still think Sassa's a gamble, even when he comes back. His injury record isn't doing much, and I still think if Raul goes, you probably need someone else potentially to come on in. I'd like to see another potential younger striker or someone with a point to prove if Fabio is the guy. But I think if the stars aligned, but a little like Moutinho, if it all came together and you could have those guys that you can draw on for experience and everything that they bring to the squad, I think it makes a ton of difference. So you just mentioned him, Joe. Mateus Nunes, different player,
Yeah.
practically, and well, it isn't it. So it's just a shame when that run that he went on and beat 4 players, it doesn't get an assist. It was as good as,
Yeah.
but where's this come from? Is it just has it just been a matter of time and that he's found his position naturally? How do you think he's kicked on?
I think it was the confidence. I think it was the goal. You know what I mean? Like once you get the monkey off your back, like then and like now he can play a little bit more free. But yeah, it seems like he's a completely different player to me. Like in the past couple of weeks, like this, it's great. I'm very happy for him. Like lots of pressure, obviously, all these guys. So like to see them kind of shed that, and yeah, like maybe it is Diego Costa having a veteran presence helping along, the younger players like that. Maybe like I think that kind of stuff is invaluable to the team. So yeah, he looked great. I was a huge fan this week for sure. That run he just beat everyone. It was like FIFA, right? Like he just beat everyone.
It was like Adama, but with end product.
Yes, yeah, 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 definitely, yeah.
Fortunately, I will add, fortunately, but right place, right time, good substitution by Lopetegui, and it was Wang to put it in for 2-0. What do you think about Wang's little cameo?
I like Wang. I like him coming back. I like the injury bug thing. I don't know how it works for him, but like even when we first signed him, what last year, 2 years ago, and like that first game that he played, he looked great. And then like what he just had this hamstring thing for 2 years, off and on, off and on, off and on. So I'm happy that he got one too. It was right place, right time, but I mean his foot was there. Like you can't teach like he had the right move. So yeah, count it. It was a huge goal too. Like I
Yeah,
mean, Brentford wasn't letting up. Like they had chances the whole second half, right? So like sealing it, they really looked like it deflated them, like emotionally deflated them. So I think like it was a bigger goal than it even looked like in that situation for sure.
Alex, anyone out of the other starters or subs that really stood out to you during the game?
Um, well, I think Lamina is and Gomez maybe they didn't stand out quite as much as they did in the previous game. And part of that is that that first word that you said, Paul, introducing the podcast, comfort. It didn't feel like as big of an effort as it did against Chelsea, but that might just be because they were facing a team with a slightly different midfield than Chelsea and less attacking prowess. So I would give them shout outs though still, because I think that yeah, they continue to bring just a dynamism to the midfield that Wolves lacked for a long time, and they kind of round out a team that was full of just like some attacking talent that wasn't producing end product. Neves can defend. He loves to ping a long ball over the top to someone, etc. But he's not the same player that Lamina and Gomez are, and that yeah. So I would just shout them both out as well.
You know who quietly had a really nice game when I was rewatching the highlights before like we were recording? Sarabia had like a pretty quietly nice
Yeah,
match for no,
yeah,
like like it was like not somebody that like as I was watching it like I was like okay whatever, but then you go back you like watch through the highlights and stuff, you're like this kid is he's definitely playing well. So I was impressed by him. I think he's a silent star of the match for me at
yeah.
least.
He often seems to be in and around it without doing a stellar piece of work. Yet it's one of those players that can stitch things together, and it
Yeah,
may come from two or three passes before a move really starts, but you find that he's in and around it, which I think is good. I think he's going slightly under the radar, and we may see him break out a little more as the season comes to an end. I think what stood out for me as a unit was not necessarily comfort, but confidence in the
yeah,
defence. That to a man, they all look really solid, and you're often worried with the lineup that Brentford are going to put out, and like a three man front line with Tony and then two quicker guys out further. They was talking about that before kick-off, and it's always a worry against the Wolves team. But I think to a man, without really highlighting any of them in particular, I think defensively we look great, and I think that's one thing for me that stood out these past few weeks is even though we haven't been great, we haven't been destroyed by anyone. And I'm just
yeah,
thinking back to today and Leeds like conceding six at home and
yep.
some of the crazy results we've seen. Even though we haven't been great, we've had that solidity, which I think is fantastic, and it's a pretty important bedrock to build on if you are going to turn a relegation threatened team around to pull yourself out of it. So I think a lot of credit goes to the players who are starting and the coaching staff and manager that put it together.
Do you think we're out of it?
Personally, I do.
I do too. It
Um,
feels like it, right?
it feels like we need one more,
Yeah.
and out of the remaining games, you can easily see that one, or I I could see I could see a few more actually, but
Yeah, right?
I
I
think
was looking at the upcoming schedule coming up too, and I was like, I could see one or two here.
yeah, but it's even to the case that we can rely on the stats and what he's done to turn around the team, and he's averaging 1.5 points a game since taking us over, which is phenomenal.
Nuts. Yeah.
Since that World Cup break. So if you just extrapolate that out of the remainder of the season, not only are we going to finish comfortably, but we're going to be quite well placed in the mid-table. So if those two wins can come relatively quickly, and if for example, if we went into May and not having anything to worry about, I'd really like to see what this team's capable of.
Yeah, agreed. They it looks like they really really like Lopetegui. I didn't realize how much they didn't like Bruno Lage until I see them now. They must have really really hated him behind the scenes. Like I thought that it was like okay, like they just a little run, like a bad spell here, like maybe they need to buy in or something, but like no, it doesn't seem like that at all.
I think that's reflected in the likes of the celebrations as well,
Yep.
where especially that second one, and it was the big group hug and jumped up and down, and they called Mateus over to join in. It just seems like there is a really good team spirit at the moment. They're all playing for each other. They're all enjoying it. Um, and to those points, Joe, if they weren't previously under the old regime and there was issues with the training or they weren't fit enough, that's going to weigh you down. So if all those pressures are going to be released and you're enjoying it and you're playing for someone that you got a ton of belief in, who's giving you that leash to go out with, I think you can expect good things from a Lopetegui side for sure.
Do you think that maybe I was thinking about this earlier, like what can I point to that I've seen that I think it, and I think that maybe Lopetegui being so vocal when he thinks that there's like bad penalties, missed plays, like I think the players respect that a lot. because he'll come out and just be like, no, this was bad. That was a bad call. Like the refs bungled this today. Whatever. Like he'll say it, which is wild too. But and I think that's like, it was the gaining of the mutual respect between the parties, right? And yeah, it looks like I can see it on the pitch, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I think in his own special way, he talks quite positively about the players in his press interviews, and even to the extent that, for example, if there is issues behind the scenes with Nuri or Raul, you haven't heard anything
Nope.
along the lines that there may be. He's always been like, well, they're still contending. There's still a squad place to play for. It's not like he's cast anyone aside. It's like everyone's still got a chance. So I think he brings a lot, a lot of what you can like in this team. Definitely comes from the head coach. So Alex, the clean sheet. What does that bring for us this week?
Of course. Well, as Josh mentioned last week, clean sheet lunches now going to be a thing on the podcast. He threw out some questions for us that were a fun way to go through like some superlatives of the game. So I'll throw them out to you guys, and also read some responses that we got on Twitter from people after the match. So the first one was who gets to order first at the table for the clean sheet lunch that we think is coming this week.
Okay, I'll go first, and I think it's got to be Costa ordering first, and they'll all be patting him on the back and letting him go for it and pick whatever he wants.
That's a good one. I'm gonna go with my boy Mateus this week, just for that run alone. I think it's worth it. Costa finished, yes, but like I'll give it to him. And I don't think anybody. I think even Costa would let him cut in line. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, who gets to pick the appetizers for the table? It's kind of like an honorable mention award behind the man of the match award.
So mine's a little under the radar, but I'm going for Max Kilman. I'm saying he's taking captain responsibilities. He's going to grab that menu because he might not get the chance if Neves comes back in. He's going to grab that menu and quickly pick out 3 or 4 things to the table and do it with the leadership that he's shone with.
I'm gonna go again with my boy Sarabia this week. Give him the appetizers, like quietly. He'll pick it, spread it around. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I like that. He has been a bit underappreciated. Okay, and then who gets an extra serving of the dessert?
Extra dessert. Give it to Wang, man. Comes on, gets the nice second goal, puts it away. I think Wang Chan gets the second dessert for sure for me.
Yeah, I agree. If it was 2 scoops of ice cream, he's definitely getting a third. And he'd
Yeah.
be really thankful for it as well.
Of course. All right, so we got some responses on Twitter. A lot of people are in agreement with Diego Costa. Josh himself, I know he's not here to speak for himself, but he had Costa and he had Jose Sa for the appetizers.
Saw made some great saves, man. He really did. He kept it in there when it was getting rough for sure.
Yep. Second dessert to Mateus, and Josh added that it has to be a steak lunch. So maybe they're not going to the same Italian restaurant that I think they've been going to, which I believe was confirmed again that they went for this most recent one. Also, side note, did you guys see Lopetegui like in the club in Birmingham?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did see this picture. What was he doing? Where was he
know.
at?
I don't know. And was he wearing like an opened button-up shirt, or was he wearing a really deep V-neck? Because that came up on No Stupid Questions last week, and I saw a lot of Lopetegui's chest in that photo.
It was a wild scene, man. I did not expect, and he looks like surprised that the picture is being taken and like somewhat out of place, but also like in uniform for being at a nightclub. So I was very confused by this whole situation.
Yes. I also saw someone on Wolves Twitter. I don't know if this was substantiated or not, but I believe it was someone who was DJing at that same place that Lopetegui was at, and they had a video of it. And I was like, wow, that place is lit.
Wow.
Really? Was it? Because it looked like he was just, like, in front of a bu this could have been, like, a nice quiet lounge in the picture that I
Yeah.
saw, but, like, if you told me it was a packed nightclub, holy crap.
Maybe he was there on the earlier side, and the video I saw was more from like 1 or 2 in the morning. He was not in the video, so I want to make
Okay.
that perfectly clear. All right, Wolfrunian Dan Wilk says Matthias gets to order first. Kilman chooses the appetizer, so he agrees with you on that, Paul. And Costa gets the extra dessert, but he will end up sharing it with all Wolves fans.
Mm.
We're getting a lot of shout outs for Kilman, which I like because 2 games with the armband, like you mentioned, Paul. I think that's really good. But Sam stole my extra dessert. He said he just wanted to give a special mention for Tony Gomez. He was outstanding today. Sam Spencer
Yeah?
on Twitter chimed in with that, and that was a new one that we didn't see common in the responses. In the same way that you've got like Matthias all of a sudden playing as a right mid, like kind of, more attacking. You've got a center back playing left back and not missing a beat. And he looks kind of skilled. Like I know I'm not saying I want him to be the left back of the future because he's just not, but like he really can do a job, man. That's really impressive.
But even that delivery for Costa's goal,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he got in a great position. He looked up and he knew exactly where to put it for Costa coming in. And as they said, I think they said on the commentary, he could have had the chance to shoot first time, but it was perfectly placed. So if he's adding that type of penetration down the wing and putting balls across like that, then they really could have stumbled on a really solid option at left back that offers something that we didn't think we had. So it's phenomenal, I think.
Yeah. He was it was the opposite of what every fullback under Bruno Lage looked like, or wingback under Bruno Lage, where it's like, don't overthink it, don't dribble down, and then all of a sudden be like, oh, I'm going to pass it back around and try to craft a perfect goal. Just bang it in there into space, and that's exactly what he did. So that's pretty good. But yeah, that's what we got. Those are the relatives. Thanks to everybody who chimed in with them on our Twitter at WLW Pod.
So it might have gone under the radar again somewhat thanks to the result, but Joe, did we get shafted by VAR again with the penalty on Toty?
This one, I was gonna ask you what you thought about this one. I mean, there's been some egregious ones. I don't know. I don't like the he was going down a little early. Uh, I've seen worse called as penalties this year. So I think we could have had it, but I wasn't expecting anything based on our nice run of getting shafted both ways in penalties. So we got the win, and I wasn't sweating it. But if this would have if we would have conceded one and it would have been a draw, I think I would have been complaining a lot more than I am. But like,
Yeah.
what do you think? Do you think it was a penalty or no?
Personally, for me, it was Raya's arm going across that kind of checked him out of it. It wasn't the feet coming together. It was
Yeah.
a distinct movement to take him out that way. And what I always lean to is that's a foul on every other blade of grass outside the penalty box. So I'm just asking for some consistency. And the thing is with that one is if the ref would have given it, it would have been held up.
Yeah.
And if he didn't give it, even though it looked like a foul, it's not going to be overturned because it makes him look bad. And
Yep.
that it's a closed shot. They're going to look after each other. They're going to bat the on-field decision. So for me, it's a level of consistency. Was it as bad as the Pope one at Newcastle? No, but for me, a foul's a foul. What did you think, Alex?
Yeah, I agree. I don't really think that watching it real time and then even the replays had me thinking, "Oh, corrupt league." It's more this one. I think falls more in the category of there's almost like an unconscious bias in a referee's head that they're more prone to not award a penalty to Wolves than they are like actively trying to shaft Wolves, right? So I guess the only thing I could justify that I thought maybe it would be a little bit of a soft penalty is that as Totti took a touch, the ball was going out no matter what. It was a really heavy touch. Was that impacted by the onrushing keeper? Of course. Did he get him? Yes, but you could argue that it was already going to be a goal kick regardless of whether or not he made any contact. I don't know if that plays into it, but um, yeah, I'm just happy it didn't come down to another apology for points being dropped
Oh
by
God,
Wolves
yeah.
because of a referee decision. So
So we touched on it a little earlier, but with these two wins on the bounce, do you think Lopetegui has now stumbled upon this preferred formation? We've got Mateus on the right, two forwards. Do you think now that this is going to change with Neves being eligible to come back into the team on Saturday? And this is a question, Joe, that was asked by Wolf Rooney and Dan Wilkes as a no stupid question on Twitter prior to recording. So, how do we talk about Ruben Neves coming back into this team? Does he?
Does he? Does he is the question. Like, not how does he? I don't know. You know, I always have the feeling like don't mess up a good thing, right? Like I've been reading a lot of people commenting all day saying like, well, when Neves comes back, what happens? Who sits and stuff like that. And then other people were like, well, what if Neves doesn't come back? I don't know if you can play with this yet. I would like him to maybe they can do a soft like let's warm him back up into the team type situation and see how like the first half of next week goes, maybe try to sub him in. I don't know if Lopetegui's going to stay with like I don't think he's hard and fast in his ways enough to just be set on one formation is what it does. Like he wants to play against his opponent, which I really do like. With subs and with form and just like how he lines everybody up, it's great. And I think that will not lock him into one certain way of setting up, playing things like that. I don't know what's gonna happen with Neves. I've spoken many a bad things of Neves for a long time, but the team winning without, I don't know, like maybe it's like just a lot of pressure for him. I don't think he looks as great, like even as great this year as he has beforehand to me. So I think you got to ride the hot hand and stay with this, and maybe lock it down. If we get another win, then like it's an easier decision to put him back in because like it would probably be pretty disrespectful to not, bring him back as the captain and things like this. That's another element that I don't know how you juggle, and that's for somebody that's paid a lot more than I am, right? Like, how do you judge it? We need to know what his ego is thinking about this, but it's gonna be a curious weekend.
Alex, you're in the hot seat. Do you bring him back in? And if you do, who's dropping out?
I also would not. I think Lopetegui has cultivated a culture everywhere else in the team of you have to earn your spot every week. I mean, we've seen him
Mm.
constantly changing the lineup, and some of that wasn't always after what I would consider stinkers. Some of it was just after subpar performances. Classifying anything we've seen from João Gomez or Mario Lemina in the past 2 weeks as subpar would be completely unfair and inaccurate. So I kind of like him as a bench option against Leicester, and let him earn his way back into the team. As crazy as that is to say about your club captain, but I also think there could be some like politics involved here, or not politics, but transfer strategy. The better Wolves do without him, and the less important he seems to them, the greater likelihood that the market would soften for him and he may consider coming back. But you could also be hurting yourself from the standpoint that you're not going to get the return on him that you want. So it's it's a very tricky spot. It's a very
Do we
hot
think he
seat here, Paul.
leaves?
We should put you in it. What do you say?
I, to begin with, I was initially thinking that you don't change your winning team, and then I was thinking Lopetegui wouldn't do after these two performances. But even on Saturday, he tweaked it slightly with not starting Podence and bringing Sarabia in to start. So that gave me a little reasoning that he may. I think on the, I think it would be harsh. The only way I see it happening this week is that we're away from home, and we don't have to be. We it's a different team to play against, for like compared to the two that we've had to come up against in these past 2 weeks. So it's a different challenge. Whether he's seen as more defensive, um, that maybe gets him the nod, and if that's the case, it's probably Gomez that drops out, being away from home. Or does he just go horses for courses and back them because they've done so well and they've had a dynamic midfield that's effectively won them the 2 games? Do you want to change that winning vibe and those partnerships that have started to form? So I'll be a big fence sitter. I can see it going either way, and I wouldn't be surprised with either one of them.
Can I ask just a kind of a novice question? Like I draw the parallel when I think about why they're playing so well, particularly the midfield, the players who are playing because he's not in the lineup. I liken it to basketball from the standpoint that sometimes when a team full of a lot of really good shooters is missing its like most dynamic player, right? Players become less deferential. They're not looking like, oh, we got to get, I don't know, Steph his however many threes, and they just start to take more onus onto themselves. Like, and we see Lamina carrying the ball forward. I think he had a shot or two. I don't even know if either one of them were on target. I can't remember, but we don't see that from him. João Gomez, the same thing. Like, is it that they just know there's a greater burden on them, so they play better, and that when he's there, they're less aggressive? Like, because
I
I
think
can't figure out why Matthias Lamina Gomez looks so much better when they're not, when arguably our greatest player is not on the field.
I think you're right, but I think it's more of a like when you have uh, a player like that, you're like beholden to get him the ball. You know what I mean? Like I think that you were right in the beginning, and but it's like the flip. Not that they're like even doing better; they just don't feel the pressure to like lead everything through him,
Mhm.
and maybe they're forcing stuff to try to give it to Neves so that they can like have him make the play. And without him, they're like, oh, we'll just pass to each other, and it opens things up a lot and makes them like more creative is what it's looking like to me.
Yeah.
It does seem there's more dynamism. There's that element of having those players step up and take responsibility. I think it's a really strong point, and at the very least, and I think you just touched on it before, Joe, that if this is the farewell for Neves, then it puts us in a pretty good spot, I think. And what Gomez has shown, even though he's young, and it may be a stretch to have him start away from home in this position, but you've got a really dynamic defensive midfielder there that can break up play, can win the ball, can break into the box even. So I just think as a collective, there's lots to be excited about if he stays or if he goes.
Yeah, I was thinking about this a lot. Like, I feel pretty, you get a little worried that players like that would leave, but then you see us the past couple weeks and you're like, you know what? I think we'll be okay. Like I think that there's something there, and maybe if he wants to leave, then good, and if he wants to stay, but we don't feel the pressure anymore to be like, oh man, what's going to happen when he leaves, right? Like at least I don't right now. And I'm like, wow, that'd be pretty well, I think we're in a pretty good spot.
Enjoying a whole lot of Wolves? Whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening, don't forget to rate and review the show so that we can make sure to continue to grow the pack. Thanks for listening, and up the mighty Wolves.
So that was talking about the lineup as we approach Saturday. So we'll dig into the game in a little more depth. It is Leicester Wolves this Saturday, 10 a.m. kickoff Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. So we've talked Neves coming back in. Does it change the lineup, either starting, or does he make those changes? It would seem, apart from the Neves situation, that the rest of the team pretty much picks itself. Do you think, Joe?
Yeah, but what about doesn't Costa have like a knee problem right now?
Good call. Yeah, it looked like he did come out with that extra strapping at half time around it. So that's one that they'll certainly be monitoring, you should think. And I think that would be the only kicker, that it looks so promising and the partnerships are starting to form and everything.
Yeah.
It would be a blow, and I think it'd be an important game for him in this type of role to be starting in.
Yeah, I think so too. That's. I mean, like I said, I would be hesitant to change a lineup if the team's winning, but if somebody's not fit, then you have to make a change. So yeah, it'll be curious to see what happens. But I mean, I liked it, and Leicester's on like a bad run too, right? Like they've lost like the last like five or so, or like they're on like a pretty bad run when I was looking. So I know that you were kind of again. This is another one that like now I have the flip of it. Like maybe I feel like we are gonna win as opposed to like, oh man, this seems like a match that like we're kind of doomed in. You know what I mean? Like you can't win either way type situation. I feel like with some confidence and going in there, like knowing that they're down, they don't have the relegation pressure. I think that like you could come out and pretty much lay it on them here.
In terms of Costa being out, Alex, does he still stick with more of a shape that has two up front? Does Cunha lead the line and it's Wang playing off him?
Um, so I would like that, but I think the Costa injury could also heavily influence the decision on Neves. So I think if Costa is out, there's a greater likelihood that instead he would go to a more traditional 4-3-3. Cunha would lead the line, but Neves would slide back into the midfield, and we would see perhaps something like Lamina, Neves, and Matthias, or maybe even like that 4-4. I don't know, man. It's so hard to predict. Like I feel like he never does what you expect him to do.
Hmm.
Um, but we said it last week. Like if Huang would have started this Brentford game, I think we all would have thought that could have been justified. Um, and I love the idea of Huang and Cunha, just getting a glimpse at Huang and Cunha playing as like a central pairing. Because I think that could work out pretty well. So, um, yeah, I think he would have to be the one if Costa doesn't go. I think.
So you mentioned drastically different form, Joe. We got smashed at home in October 4-0 when we last played, and it definitely seems we're on the upward trajectory, and they may be on the way to doing that, changing the manager, hoping that that can stimulate something. They probably anticipated that they weren't going to beat Man City on Sunday, so they'll be looking at this game as a must win. Do you think that factors into favouring us?
Huh. Uh, no, I don't like that. I don't like a team that has nothing to lose, right? But I think that balancing that with the confidence that we've seen in Wolves the past couple weeks, that uh, maybe this is one that will be decided kind of early in the sense that you will be able to feel the tempo off the rip and see who wants it. Like if Leicester comes out flat, I think we're gonna have a good Saturday. I think that if we come out flat, then we could definitely drop it. But I'm feeling confident. I like our positioning in this one and their bad run. I think that like it's time to put the foot on the gas and just keep going now. So like I like this pressure that we have. I think that the boys are going to come in hot and we're going to do it. Yeah.
Okay, lead us with a prediction of the score.
Oh, 2-0. We score early though, like in the first 20. And then I think we might sneak another one in before half, and then we kind of just ride it out. Then I think that if we can do that, we can get two. I know that that's yeah huge, but if we can get two before the half, I think that they'll just be like, okay, we're good, and then park the bus, and we'll be okay.
Alex?
Um, I think I'm gonna go. I'll go 1-0 Wolves. and I feel like we'll be way less comfortable than we want to be against
Mm,
Leicester, but ultimately get a result because they do feel a little dead in the water. Yeah, but I still say a Wolves win. I'll go 1-0.
Okay, I think this would be one that I think if you get a draw, it's a good result for us given what's on the line for Leicester. So I'd definitely take a point. But what I said after the game to my brother, I said we were talking about whether we're safe or not, and I said it's probably one more game and then a draw or two to be really sure. I said what I would like would be that real put a flag in the ground away victory, like lots of celebration in front of the fans. We've done it, so I just want to show there's that's just water. There's there's no whiskey in it like Josh has. This is pure water because I'm going to say Leicester City 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 4.
Oh man.
oh, you think we just lay it on them this weekend?
I think they come out all guns blazing first 10 minutes, but we score one and then we get two in quick succession and then we get one straight after half time. They may get a third, they may get one back, but we score in like the 86th minute or something silly again, and we win 4-1. And we've got a pretty crappy record away at Leicester since we've been back in the Prem. So I think we're due a win there. And I think it's going to be our marquee away performance just to say that we're here and we're staying.
I like it. I'm with you. I'll ride with the 4-1 correct score. I like it.
Any particular goal scorers, Paul? Because one thing that popped into my mind when Costa got off the mark is there's 8 games left at that time. He's like one decent run of form away from being in serious contention of being our leading scorer, even though he
Yeah.
just
Oh
scored
yeah.
for the first time in April.
I think what we might get would be I'd probably like Cunha
Yeah.
to get the first. Then we're going to score that first on like the 8th minute, and then on 12 it's going to be a towering Max Kilman header for 2-0.
Oh.
Um, Wang's going to get one, and we end up getting a penalty, and Neves scores a penalty.
Wow. All right.
Okay. I like that. Yeah.
So if you're listening in a state or a country that can gamble, just do completely opposite to what I just said.
I was gonna say parlay all of them. That's gonna be a big payday.
Okay, that may have been a no stupid prediction, Alex. But what about other no stupid questions?
Yeah, we got some good ones this week. It's most listeners' favorite part of the show, our favorite part of the show. You get to show your creativity and ask us pretty much anything that you guys want. Submit them on Twitter each week at WLWpod, where most of these came in, or you could email us hello@wholelotofwolves.com. So we'll start with Michael Moser, who asked, which player has shown the most improvement over the last couple of games? I think that's a fun question. We talk about most improved under Lopetegui. We did that a few weeks back, but on this recent really good run, who do you think is most improved, Paul?
I think we've talked a lot about the obvious standout candidates, like if it's Nunes. Um, but I'm going to go. I'm going to again give credit to someone that might have not seen a lot of it this season, and I'm going to say Nelson Semedo. That
Hmm.
he's looked absolutely locked down of that right back berth. It's like when he has those opportunities and he's either getting in the way and putting the attacker off or he's getting something on it. And there's been 2 or 3 times now that he's got into that position just to usher the ball out of the left the play on the left hand side coming in trying to take it off him. And previously I'd be really nervous that he'd like trip himself up or the attacker would get the wrong side and he'd trip him up for a penalty. And he's just seeing those balls out for goal kicks like it's nothing at the moment. So I think confidence is a big thing with Semedo. So that's flowing through the back line at the moment. So I'm going to say him.
How about you, Joe?
Ooh, I don't know. I talked about a couple earlier that I was really liking. I think yeah, the past couple games for Matthias is great. Cunha too. Uh, Max Kilman looks a lot better than I expected, but he gets a lot of praise all the time. Yeah, it's tough. I think that those three would probably be my biggest ones. Toddy looked pretty good too, like out of nowhere this last game. So like I think yeah, I can't pin it down to just one. Maybe Matthias if I had to pick one, but a bunch of these understated Sarabia, which I brought up, right? Like a bunch of these understated players have looked a lot better to me for no reason in the past couple weeks. So I don't know what they're drinking. Maybe some of Paul's water or something like that. But keep it up.
Yeah, first wanted to answer like impulsively João Gomez, but he wasn't really playing, so it's hard to say that he's improved. He's just actually had an opportunity because I don't think he's done anything wrong when he actually gets to play. Um, I don't know that I don't know if this is he's generally solid, but I will just point out that I gave thought to naming Jose Sa this person because there was a
Mhm.
period where there was a narrative about whether or not he could even be our goalkeeper under Lopetegui because we wanted to play out of the back and he was a little bit sloppy, and he certainly seemed like, at least when they first made that Dan Bentley signing after the or leading up to it, was it perhaps, but I think maybe it was like right after that, he had kind of a bad run of form and was a little erratic. So um, two clean sheets in a row is a easy way to erase the memory of you being a little shaky. So
Jose Salk, like he plays on the edge though. Like this is I I, I am a big hockey fan, and I prefer goalies like that will do the spectacular and also give up a bad one, right? And like Jose Sa at least will like he'll make like two great saves a match, and then he'll do something pretty boneheaded like that, like run into the middle of the box to try to catch it when there's like 50 guys around him and collide with everyone and nearly give up a goal for no reason. But like I'm preferential to this level of excitement, than like one of these like average goalies that you're like, okay, like
yeah,
you know what you're gonna get. He's gonna give up one and like, but he'll make one save. Like no, like Jose Sa can go on a run and he'll have, two clean sheets in a row, or he, will give up a bad one and you'll be like, that's what happened this week.
yeah, completely. I don't know this to be true because I don't know him personally, but I would venture to guess in his spare time, Jose Sa is an adrenaline junkie. Like,
Right? Yeah.
that guy is skydiving. He's doing everything risky that you could possibly think of. Um, that pretty much the exact opposite of me. Um,
Yeah.
I like feeling safe. Um, all right. So continuing on with the no stupid questions, Paul, gonna have to lean on you for this one, or the internet, but I feel like you got this one. From Leia from our Houston Wolves. Why is Molyneux called Molyneux?
We are going to have to rely on the internet somewhat just for historical accuracy, but I'm pretty much sure it is down to the Lord Molyneux
Hmm.
and whether he was the landowner that the stadium was built on or something like that. I I, I saw this in advance. I didn't want to purposely look it up, so I came across as much smarter than I actually am. But I'm pretty much sure it's down to Lord Molyneux and the formation of the ground where it's at.
Okay, we're gonna fact check you on the spot, and you are definitely correct. Benjamin Molyneux, an ironmonger and banker, was the first Molyneux to reside in Wolverhampton, and the building was passed, or excuse me, like in that where the stadium now is, and he passed the building down several generations in his family. So there you go.
So did he own the stadium like when they first built it, or did like he own the land?
I'd imagine it was the land.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and we need to go back and listen, but Wolfman Jeff has a contribution here as well. I think it's in his lineage somewhere that he's got some involvement in it from generations past as well. So,
Okay. Yeah. He purchased the land in the mid 1700s, in which he built Molyneux House, which was later converted to the Molyneux Hotel,
yeah,
and is
Hmm.
that's
the
it's right
land.
at the top of the hill.
Yep, where the stadium would eventually be built. So there you go. And
Did he gift it? How does that work? Like, did he like gift them the land, or did he like still own the rights to the land with the stadium on top of it? Do you
So
know?
that would have been 1700s, and the club formed in 1877. So it's a good time that would have passed since
yeah, I
since he's been hands on. So
it according to our friends at Wikipedia, the grounds were sold to the Northampton Brewery in 1889, who then rented it to the Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah, that is kind of cool.
A spot on a brewery, the brewery club team. I kind of like that. I can get behind that.
I think we could all we could all get behind that. Um, all right, so that's a fun little history lesson for us. This one has nothing to do with history, but is a fun one from our friend Stu, the Wolves fan cast, who is a fan of the new Mario movie. He says, in light of the Mario movie being the most enjoyable 90 minutes of cinema in years, and he's a
Ooh.
movie buff, who do you all pick to race as in Mario Kart?
Ooh, I usually go pretty generic, but I usually go Mario, honestly. Like I'm not even gonna fake it. I usually go Mario off the rip. I've been playing like I have a Switch. I played the new one. My wife usually goes Yoshi. That's her, so I usually stay Mario.
Paul, any Mario Kart in your
yeah,
vein?
when you've got a 9-year-old with the Switch, it's pretty
Yeah.
pretty standard for how to raise a child in 2023. So I'm all about it, and my go-to is probably Donkey Kong, based on
Oh.
the looks and the height and everything. So it's Daddy, you've got to be someone who's in proportion.
And that is why, as a 5'8" gentleman, I usually pick Toad
You like Toad?
as
That's a
my
good one.
racer. Always did growing up, and then I too have been playing some Switch lately. I went home to see my family, and my nephews are obsessed, and they get whatever they want. And when they want to do 2-player mode, and Uncle Alex is the only one around, guess what Uncle Alex is doing? He's playing 2-player mode. So, but you didn't have to pull my arm to play Mario Kart, that's for sure, because
No.
that's an instant classic. All right. Wrapping up No Stupid Questions with our friend Nick Raytar, also recent guest of the podcast. He asks, could this episode finally be the season premiere of Romance with an Option to Buy, or Bromance with an Option to Buy? I've been waiting so long for the second season of that.
I think if safety is confirmed, then we've definitely got to weave it into some type of Hallmark movie for definite. Now, I'm not sure who the leading character is based on Trincao previously, but it's probably got to be Joe Gomez, hasn't it? The whole
Yeah.
the how he came about, how no one ever heard of him, and suddenly he's the this ultimate player that we've got to sign through all of that, and the goal at Southampton, and these performances. Um, I think it's got to be based on him, probably.
The fairy tale of the like, no, I said I was signing for Wolves.
Yeah,
No, no, that's just it writes itself, right?
yeah, definitely. But I think we've got him as the leading man, but there's definitely there's some cameos in there as well, and I think there'll be a really good Diego Costa cameo if he keeps up this form through to the end of the season, and notches 2 or 3 more. Then he could be that childhood hunk from high school that comes back and wows the lady or something like that. So I think we could have a lot of potential to close out the season with this movie, straight to TV movie, but a movie nonetheless.
That'll do it for No Stupid Questions for this week.
Those were
Again,
good, man. Those
yeah.
were really good.
They were. WLW Pod is the show's Twitter handle. Easiest way to get us. Also, if you have some long form questions, or you just want to prefer to get to us via email, hello at wholelotofwolves.com is our email address. Keep them coming.
Joe, as we wrap up, tell the listener how they can get hold of you and follow you about Wolves and what you also have got going on.
Oh yeah, I am a weekly host at Too Fast Too Forever on the Cage Club Podcast Network. You can find us on anywhere you listen to podcasts and at cageclub.me. We talk about Fast and Furious movies, so it's a big time for us. We got a new one coming out in just over a month. So we're getting ready for FX F10, whatever Vin Diesel decides he wants to call it in that moment. And we talk about that. We talk about a bunch of other movies. Josh has been on, and it's just a good time. We screw around a lot. You can find me on Twitter, find Too Fast at Twitter, Too Fast Too Forever, and you can find me from there if you want to talk. And I'm always watching Wolves on Saturday mornings, so happy to take any tweets you want to send and laugh at Josh making predictions that are usually very, very wrong. So.
Thanks for coming on, Joe. It's been
Of
a
course.
blast. We will be back, listeners, this time next week. We're going to see everything. What happens from the game against Leicester on Saturday, and then it will be back to back, won't it? We've got Palace coming up. That will be on the Tuesday. So it's Palace Tuesday the 25th, and then an away trip to Brighton and Hove Albion on April the 29th. So, in the meantime, keep the faith, listeners. I think we're almost there. And as always, up the mighty Wolves.